Welcome and welcome back. Is everybody so excited about Arman Tsarukyan? Do 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 do. And Dan Hooker, they're about to make some history, headlining the first ever main event in Qatar. Let's talk about all of the really incredible fights, the strategically matched matchups that we have to look forward to, and give this one the old dynamic breakdown. Arman Tsarukyan. Do 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 do. I don't know why, but for some reason, that has been the song in my head for years now. It's been years. It's been years since I've been singing Arman Tsarukyan. Do 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 do. I don't know I don't know where that comes from, but that's the Arman Tsarukyan song. As many of you know, some people they have their own song, right? Nazardine Imavov. So I don't know where it's coming from, but it's sometimes they stick. We are headed to Qatar, everybody. The first ever UFC event that has been held there. That is really cool, really awesome. We're always making history, am I right? It's a big part of the Visit Qatar promo that's been going on. I'm pretty envious of anybody who does get to go. That sounds pretty fun. We have a lightweight bang bang for our main, as you know. We got some really vicious wolves that are about to scrap it out, but they're two previously injured wolves, right? Dan Hooker and Arman Tsarukyan, both coming off of pretty significant injuries and both making their first appearance of 2025 with hardly a month left to go in the year. Are they healed? I really hope so. I really hope so. We're hoping everybody is perfectly ready to go, and I imagine they are. They know their bodies. And of course, the welterweight wild card continues, right? We have Ian Machado Gary and Bilal Muhammad looking to steal the show back, steal that spotlight back from the craziness that was Carlos Prates and Miles Morales. Oh, there we go again, calling him Miles, right? Michael Morales. Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough to steal the spotlight back from them, but if anyone's going to do it, it could be Bilal and Ian. They are radical people, and it's kind of true that for our main and our co-main event. So with the co-main event, looking for that number one contender spot. Main event, looking for that number one contender spot. Don't always get that set up. And also kind of interesting is timeline-wise, it made sense for a lot of people who fought in Baku to fight here, and that is so true. So many people who fought on the Baku card are getting to show up here in Qatar, which is kind of cool because they're like making double history, right? Azerbaijan and Qatar are both having their first events, UFC events, pretty cool stuff. And we got a lot of debuts on this card, like a lot of people making a debut, and of course, lots of classics to round everything out. First up, we got some heavyweights. Let's go with that debut story. Denzel Freeman and Mark Brujolo. Denzel Freeman, happy belated birthday 10 days ago. We got a couple belated birthdays to get to. He is a former U.S. Marine, at least I think former, maybe still, I don't know. He is also a wrestler. He's got a wrestling background. He is making his debut, yes. Came from LFA, coming off the 2 win streaks there. And when you look at Denzel Freeman, there's one big highlight, and that's takedown operation. He's looking to get that takedown and get to that ground and pound and work it out. And he is continuing to evolve, right? He's only 6-1, so a pretty green MMA record, and he got his first sub win last year. So lots of steps to climb. And he's going against Marek Boothlow, Boodzilla. That's cute. That's fun. He's a BJJ black belt, so got some definite control on the ground there. He really likes to train in the grappling. You can see spends a lot of time doing that. He's also a coach, so he's got the mind, and this is his UFC debut as well. Has yet to be in the land of decision by any means, so he's undefeated and has never gotten a decision win yet, and every one of his finishes is in round 1. What the? And he's coming off of 3 ground and pound wins in a row. So we're starting the night off with a bang, right? Like two big heavyweight finishers who are expected to not take this one into decision as well. So should be exciting, should be fireworks right away with this one. And it's cool, we get a double debut. Then we got a lightweight bout up next with Nurullo Aliyev and Shamrock. Nurullo Aliyev, another undefeated record. He has had 2 fights in the UFC, came from Dana White's Contender Series, the Tajik Eagle, Tajikistan, shout out, pretty cool stuff for sure. He's on a 12-fight win streak, so, skidded right into that pro career. Skidded, that's not the word. slid successfully into his pro career coming off of 2 wins there, so total to 12, of course. We can do arithmetic. He's never been to Subland, very much so a decision grind kind of guy, 80% of his wins, and a lot of wrestling. So the takedown's incoming. Watch out for the double leg, right? Watch out because it's happening. Watch out because it will be at the very least attempted. And he's pretty good at getting it, pretty successful. Just maximum ground comfort. Like that is where he feels safe and happy, and as a result, ground control. Comfortable on the ground, in control on the ground, and he's a horse guy. And he's going against Shamrock, okay, Shakamwe. I don't know how you say his name. We'll figure it out. He's making his UFC debut. Debuts all around. Shemiemi, he is coming off of a split win, so he's keeping that 6-fight win streak. He is a subist all the way, has never been finished that way, and that's where he gets most of his wins, so he is grapple, apple on it, and he cannot stop flipping the bird, as shown in that picture. He is always flipping the bird, and I kind of rock with that. He's a little bit of a rebel, but he's cute and sweet about it. And when you look at his sub wins, he definitely has a rear naked choke preference for sure. This is a really interesting fight because Aliyev is a decision grind type, looking to just like control you and hold you on the ground and just, working a little bit of damage there. But he's all about that control. And Shamrock, a little bit of a different story. He's looking to wrap you up and manifest it into a finish. And the only time that he has been to decision, it was a bit of a splitty. Splitting some hairs. So a preferred decision and a preferred finisher, and then specifically ground, that's what they got in common. I have a feeling we're going to be on the ground. I'm excited to see Shamrock make his debut. Next up, we got some middleweights, Ismail Nardiev and Ryan Loder. Ismail Nardiev is the Austrian Wonder Boy. It's not in the system that's his nickname, but it's self-proclaimed. He's a spinner. He's a bit of a spinny inner. This is his second UFC run. So joined the UFC in 2019, bit of a stint, got cut, found his way back, learned his lessons. Right now he's coming off of a decision loss to Young Park. You know how he is, bit of a turtle, because he's the turtle. Patient fighter, looking to turn it up in third round. So spending the first 2 rounds really studying, feeling things out, and his words trying to rein in his crazy. So he's been working on that. Something interesting he does is he likes to control your legs with his legs on the ground. A little crisscross action. And he is very leggy in general, whether he's standing or he's on the ground. He's a kicker. He's really kicky about it. And his wins are manifesting themselves in all the ways. It makes sense, right? He's trying to look for things and kind of allow the fight to take itself wherever it goes. He's comfortable in a lot of different avenues. But getting the knockout a lot of times, 50%, so it's definitely a lot. He's really stocky about it. Very stocky. He's got some dreams about fighting in Sydney one day. That sounds fun and cool. And yeah, polyglot, right? So he is the Austrian Wonder Boy, but he's fighting with Morocco's flag. He's a global citizen, speaks 4 languages. And he's going against Superman Ryan Loder, the Man of Steel. He's a D1 wrestler and then spent some time at Team Alpha Male being the wrestling coach there, and is relatively new to MMA since just 2020. So it's only been almost 6 years now, and he is the Tough 32 winner. Completely dominated Valentin, held him on the ground, and then hit him with the old ground and pound. And that's the thing about Ryan Loder is that, while he may have 0% submission wins, there's a lot of ground action coming from that wrestling, and so we get our way into the ground and pound. So he uses that wrestling for just a suffocating type of control, and then just hits you really good, knows exactly how to put you in the position to really let his hands go. So lots of ground and pound there. He wants to just wrestle you up in all the ways, though. He'll wrestle you up. He's coming off of a TKO loss right now to Bekoev. Got a bit overwhelmed with punches earlier, hit the old cover up, and we called it quits from there. So still finding his way. We're 1-1 in the UFC, finding his way. He's very active with the strikes, though, when he does get going. He's a mental health advocate. Shout out Healthy Life Recovery. Move the graphic out of the way there because I need you to see the quote, the Ryan Loder quote, because he understands the value of sanctioned violence, okay? And he said, to be peaceful, you have to know how to be dangerous and how to control it. That's wise. And he is a big outdoorsman and goes on a lot of adventures with his GF, who might be his wife now. Things change fast, right? This will be a good one. This will be a good athletic scrap for sure. Interesting to see how Ishmael deals with Ryan, because I suspect that Ryan's going to go for the type of game plan I've seen him go for, with just let me get my hands on you, get dominant as quickly as I can, drag things to the ground and start unleashing on you. Whereas Ishmael's it kind of like depends on where the fight goes. He's struggled in the past sometimes with very dominant wrestlers or dominant grapplers, but times change, times change. So just interesting to see how he approaches it. His response to Ryan, who I expect will be aggressive, but at the same time, Ryan in his last fight was a bit on a tentative start and then was overwhelmed with punches, which ultimately got him a TKO loss. Either way, though, this will be a good one. This will be a good one. We got two guys trying to pave a path. Ryan paving his first ever path in the UFC, and Ishmael trying to start his second run, keep that traction going. Ismail definitely the bigger veteran by a long shot. He's got a lot more experience, way more experience in MMA in general and in the octagon. So I'm thinking he's going to be using a lot of that experience to make the Ryan Loader specific adjustments if we make it to round 3. And then we got a bantamweight matchup that I know a lot of eyes are going to be on: Beksat Almakhayev versus Alessandre Topuria. Beksat Almakhayev, he is a lot of fun. He's the Karate Kid, definitely brings that Karate Kid energy, and his UFC journey is hardly been started. Right now he's coming off of a pretty crazy TKO win over Brad Katona. I mean, he was Audi 9000, and he waited for it. Like, he's just got an incredible amount of patience, and he was on a really strong 8-fight win streak prior to meeting Umar Nurmagomedov. That was his debut. That's a crazy debut, and on short notice. Okay? Honestly, pretty cool for both of those guys saying yes to that. And that is a really interesting fight, because right away you can see that Beksat lands a crazy left and it sits Umar down. Like, the sound of the punch is crazy, but you can see that Umar's hurt. But Umar is so skilled, he's so tough, so he goes for the survival single leg. He's been there, done that. So survival single leg, and he proved to be a very smart and very tough cookie, and completely kept the wrestling narrative for the rest of that fight and grinded his way to a decision win. But it was pretty crazy because we started the fight out in the striking. He felt that Beksat power, and he said, oh gosh, I'm done with that. I need to get my hands on this man. And that's what he did. So that was a pretty smart move by Umar. But crazy debut, right? So that's Beksat's story right now. His debut against Umar. Then he just come off a really strong TKO win over Brad Katona. He's never been knocked out himself, and most of his wins are knockouts. So he's absolutely devastating, 83% of those wins. And what makes Beksat so fun to watch is that it can happen in any round. He does not need to get the finish early right away. He's a patient kind of guy when he needs to be. It makes it all the more scary that it can happen at any moment. He's very light on the feet. He's just like, he's pouncing around the whole time until it happens. You never know, but it's coming. And he'll be going against Alessandre Topuria, the other Topuria brother. We got two Topuria brothers. This one is El Conquistador. He is coming off of his first UFC win, which is his debut against Colby Thickness. That was a double debut. It was supposed to be Cody Haddon. Sad. Hope Cody's doing well, since he had to recently pull out because of injury again. Tough stuff. And Thickness came in on 2 weeks' notice for that fight back in February. Pretty crazy. Topuria, I think the craziest moment in that fight was when he hit Thickness with an insane suplex, and we were down with the Thickness. And it's been an interesting career for Topuria. So his last loss was a TKO in 2015, and when you hear that, you think, oh my gosh, that was 10 years ago. Well, then why is his record only 6-1? Well, it's because he took a 6-year break, which is pretty crazy, and he spent that time coaching, you guessed it, Ilya. So he has been coach Topuria for a long time, but now he is fighting alongside his brother in the UFC. Pretty cool. But yeah, that's a really big gap that he took. And right now he's on a 4-fight win streak, waiting for that explosion. Can be pretty patient, pretty patient, maybe too patient. We'll see. And he's very MMA, right? He does all of the things. He's got really strong wrestling, really crafty boxing. He's got some big shoes to fill. This should be a really fun matchup. Beksat is just power 101. He is so strong, and he is very technical about it, which makes it all the scarier. And Alessandre, very technical himself, not a crazy finisher, but very, very, very skilled and refined. And I think we should just get a really fun scrap. I assume Alessandre is going to look to close the distance and get that wrestling on. Maybe he'll try to get a suplex on Bexot too, because you don't want to stand with Bexot. He's just so scary. He's so scary. I mean, Alessandre, he's not afraid, but you know what I mean? Alessandre is very much so MMA, showcasing that entire arsenal throughout his fights, but perhaps when he feels Bexot's power hit him and we hear the sound of a baseball bat against a tree, you know how it is, that he'll change his mind. I don't know, but that's what I'll be curious to see, is that after feeling that power, if he makes the adjustment to want to take it to the wrestling zone. Then we have a light heavyweight matchup between Abdul Rahman Yakhyev and Raquel Kakera. Abdul Rahman Yakhyev is making his UFC debut. More debuts. He is coming off of a TKO win that was just a couple of months ago, and that's kind of his thing with 7-0 undefeated. He's got 86% of his wins being finishes, but they're pretty split between sub and knockout, which makes a lot of sense because he does a lot of ground control. He is a wet blanket, to say the least. So he's only been to the land of decision once, but it was 5 rounds, and he did come on top with the win with that, I being undefeated. So that's good to know. That's good to know that he does have it in him to push a full 5 rounds. Pretty cool, even though he is, yes, primarily a finisher, right? 86% of those wins. And right now he's coming off of 3 round 1 finishes in a row. What the? That's, yeah. So, yeah, and when he is doing his thing, he is in top position. That's just where he feels the most at home. He's pretty good at landing in the elbows. And so while he's in there, he's looking for both. Like, can we get the knockout win? Can we get the sub win? He's got both on his mind for sure. And like I said, wet blanket in the house. Like, this guy is wet blanket. And pretty important to note, I have seen him get rocked. So in his decision fight, there was a time when he went down to his knees and it was, oh God, he fell down, but he stayed right. He picked himself back up and he kept the grind going. So that's pretty cool. Has definitely shown to be tough in the face of adversity. And he's going against Rafael Kakera, who is also looking for his first UFC win, but in a little bit of a different way. So he's on a 3-fight losing streak, coming off of a decision loss to Julius Walker, and that was a pretty tough scrap. That was a really tough scrap. It seemed like the ground control made a really big difference there. Julius Walker just seemed like the bigger, more physical fighter, and he used his physicality, to get the win there. Definitely did. There was a couple of times, though, where Rafael had Julius got a little rocked, and so showed his power. But we're on a 3-fight losing streak, and that's crazy because it's his only losses. All have been back to the back, so I'm guessing he is just so hungry to get that win. For sure. And he's a very powerful guy. 73% of his wins have been via knockout. John Jones inspiration. He's also into soccer and video games. Important to know that his 3 losses, so decision loss to Julius Walker, and then the other ones are Modestas Bukauskas and Ivo Aslan. So it wasn't exactly given, you know what I'm saying, he was given some people who were known for getting the finish. So patience, and we're really hoping to see more of Rafael's skill set because we haven't gotten to see too much, but we did see in the Walker fight he definitely has some power. So even against Julius, who was the bigger, more physical fighter, he had him rocked a couple of times. So I'm hoping to see him stride it out, but we'll see. I suspect to see a similar game plan from Abdul because he seems to have a pretty similar approach to the fight. He wants to get you down to the ground and pummel you and just live the lifestyle of a wet blanket. So is he going to wet blanket Rafael? I think so. We'll see how scrappy Rafael is to get back up to his feet, or if he's going to utilize that BJJ black belt and do a little hang time on the ground. Then we have a ranked flyweight matchup in the top 10 with Alex Perez and Azu Amabayev. Woo woo, Alex is back. Alex Perez had a pretty big layoff. It's been about a year and a half. We're here. So he's a wrestler, as you may recall, and he's coming off of a pretty interesting knee injury loss to Tatsuro Taira, and it was definitely not an accident. It was body triangle takedown. It looked like this. Okay, bro, what is this? This is absolute insanity. So Tetsuro Taira has his back. He's in backpack mode. We're standing, and he tips backwards. You see where his foot is at his knee? Oh no! And we fall back, and that does Alex in. Yeah, that does his knee in real good. I mean, look at that. Pretty crazy moment worth looking into because sometimes when you see coming off of a knee injury knockout or and you're like you don't exactly know what happened or like with the case with Cody and Figgy, it's like was it an accident? No, that wasn't an accident. This wasn't an accident. Okay. So, and it was, he was in a lot of pain. He was in a lot of pain and he was also coming in with a crazy quick turnaround. Like he had fought 6 weeks before then. It was a main event spot. It's crazy to think that that was a year and a half ago. So, he's all healed up. So, aside from that as well, that unfortunate injury, he's had like crazy cancellations. Like crazy, like so many cancellations. It looks like he's had more cancellations than fights booked in the recent years, which is really unfortunate. He was supposed to fight Matt Schnell 4 times. Will we ever get that fight? Are we ever going to get the Schnelly? Alex's wins are pretty split, 48% of them coming via decision, and then between then split up pretty much so between the sub and the knockout. He's a performance of the night type, so he's definitely putting himself all on the line. We love that. 56% of his losses are via submissions, but he does have really good submission and takedown defense still. It may not see that way when you look at that raw number, but when you check out his fights, he has got a really good get off me type of energy, and he's very much so happy to make the fight ugly and hectic. That is where he really thrives. Watch out because the takedown is coming in. He's pretty full MMA arsenal about it. Likes being in boxing range. Would prefer maybe, boxing or fully on the ground as opposed to the clinch. I can see him get a little angry in the clinch. Like he's like wants to break away from it. It's not his favorite. Wants to make, but it makes it nasty, okay? Alex is a gritty, nasty type of fighter and he mixes it up very much so. He has just had a new baby, so congratulations to him. And he's also one of 8 siblings. That's a lot. And he'll be going against Azu Almabayev, who watched fights growing up, always hoping that he could make that his dream, training a bit on the side, and was working at his parents' market until he was 23 and ultimately was able to make the pro pivot. So here he is, 5-1 in the UFC, coming off of a decision win against Jose Ochoa. And, he says he wasn't happy with that performance, but he did a really good job just dominating all around. He was pulling Jose down on the ground, holding him, whipping him around, and he was in complete control throughout that entire fight. So I thought it was pretty good. He's a sub-minded kind of guy. 41% of his wins coming that way and nay a loss. So yeah, and with the sub in mind, he's going to be looking into mixing some takedowns. And those takedowns he uses, yes, for control, but he's looking for the submissions. You can feel that he's looking for them at all times. And then the rest of his wins are coming mostly from decision. So pretty rare on the knockout. He's a grinded out type of guy, very athletic. He's all over the place. He moves a lot in the octagon. So yeah, he's circling. He's looking to attack you on the angles, on the corners, and he really wants a chance to fight Joshua Mann. So that's what he's, I think, got manifesting for himself now. And he's not that far. This should be a really, really cool scrap. I'm so excited that Alex Perez is back. It was really, really sad to see how devastating the injury really was. Like, he was in so much pain. I mean, we still got to give Tatsuro Taira his credit for just that terrifying execution. Very deliberate. Very much so. I know what I'm about to do right now. And we also want Alex to be better, like to get better, not be better, you know what I mean? We want him to feel better. So hoping that he does feel better, because that was pretty crazy. It's been a year and a half. This should be a pretty fun matchup. I feel like this one is definitely going to be, as I'm often saying, like a couple of like a cats when they get rolled up into a ball in a cat fight and they roll around, because both guys definitely have a lot of ground competence. Azu, he's truly is sub-minded, and Alex Perez, he's just MMA 101, and he really likes to throw in a takedown here and there. So I think we're going to get a real MMA matchup, a real fun, exciting pace. I know that Azu is down to get gritty with it, but I think that's the narrative that Alex is going to really be pushing, a gritty, nasty fight. Try to make it nasty, but maybe he'll be tentative since he's coming off of an injury. Probably not. He's got the fighting spirit. And then we have a welterweight matchup with one of my favorite fighters of all time, Nicholas Dalby against Sagid Izagakmaev. Nicholas Dalby, he is one of my favorite fighters of all time. He is such a cool guy. Just everything about him, beautiful soul, and the performances in the octagon, a manifestation of that beautiful soul. The Danish Dynamite, he's looking to be the Danish fighter with the most MMA fights, and he's really close actually, so shout out to him for being a pioneer, and shout out to him for being a legend. He's a veteran. He started out with karate as a foundation to fight against bullies, and ultimately his journey to MMA stemmed from a desire to test himself and essentially know what it would be like to engage in a fight with as little rules as possible. Came to the right place. Right now, though, he's coming off of a pretty rough TKO loss to Randy Brown. It was a crazy fight up until then. I mean, both guys laid it all out on the line. And as we noted in Randy Brown's last fight against Bonfim, that it was Dalby who was the great equalizer between them. And I'd say the most useful analysis into their performances. He was a Cage Warriors champion and had to make his way back to the UFC. He had a little bit of a stint, got cut, and now he's here again. And he is MMA 101. I mean, his wins are very, very much so split, a little bit leaning on the decision. And he really mixes it up. It's takedowns, it's grappling, it's clinch. Again, lays it all out on the line. He truly has that fighting spirit. Like, if there's anybody who has the fighting spirit, Nicholas Dalby, he is got it. He puts on a beautiful show. And other than Randy Brown, he has never been finished. And Randy Brown is very, very strong. That was just a crazy moment. So Nicholas Dalby has proved to be durable, and he's given people a lot of trouble with that durability. And just he is voracious. He is after you. He's also an ally. He's a friend, and he doesn't believe in heroes. He's a humble guy. You don't want to have idols. So he's not looking to be your idol. He's looking to be your friend. And we love that about him. He's a certified sweetie, a positive mental attitude. He's somebody who talks very openly and candidly about mental health. And he shares his life with people in a way that is really meaningful. Just a sweet, sweet man who is an absolute killer in that cage. And he is going against Sagid Izagakmaev, who is making his UFC debut. Debut, everywhere debut. You get a debut and you get a debut. And this is interesting. So our friend here, he's a combat sambo experienced, and he hasn't fought MMA since 2022, but he's been grappling a lot since then. He's been doing his grappling matches. So yeah, right now he's coming off of a TKO win, but it was years ago. So I don't know the full story behind that. I don't know what's up with that, but we are 12 sub wins for this fella. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness me. 55%. That's a lot of subs. He is sub-minded, and he has never been knocked out. But we don't know a lot about Sagid. So interesting that we are introducing Sagid to the world of the UFC against the old Dalbinator. That is a pretty crazy first test if you ask me. I'm pretty excited for this one because I just don't know a lot about Sagid, and he's been out for a while, so just excited, excited about a debut, excited about the old Dalbinator because again, he's one of my favorite fighters ever. I'm expecting Scrapville because Nicholas Dalby has never been in a fight that doesn't turn into an all-out, chaotic, incredible scrap. We have a lot to look forward to with this one. And then we got some youthful energy flying with this one, Bogdan Grad and Luke Riley for a featherweight scrap. Bogdan Grad is pretty new to the UFC and has been proving to be a very exciting prospect. The Unleashed, pretty cool name. BJJ black belt, kickboxing black belt, and I would say that he really manifests the perfect combination of those two things. Legville, watch out for those legs. He had a bit of a Dana White's Contender Series redemption moment, lost to, I think it was Tom Nolan. He lost and then he came back and won, and so now he's here, also 1-1, coming off of a decision loss to Naimov, and before then was on a previous 4-fight winning streak. He is very much so looking to get right all up in your face and then stick to you. So either one, either be right in your face with the striking or be literally on top of you and grabbing onto you. 60% of his wins are coming via knockout, so he's definitely a really strong guy. You can tell he's very powerful. He's very grounded and humble. Keeps that attitude in the octagon, although he's way in your face. But he's not after the top 15. Pretty much from his perspective, I think this is pretty close to his own words. Everything after making it to the UFC is just a bonus. So in his mind, he's already achieved his big goal, which I could really appreciate and value that. So he's absolutely focused, absolutely dialed in, but he has no expectations for himself, I guess, other than pushing it to the limit, which I think, yes, that keeps you very grounded, very humble. I like that. Thing about Bogdan is he doesn't tire very easily. So he's very much so, his athleticism is a really big part of his performance, being able to turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, and especially being able to keep that going with all of the moments on the ground. Like that can be tiring. He stays fresh. Has a lot of fun hobbies. Biking, table tennis. He really loves nature. He loves animals. There you can see him and his wife out there enjoying the nature. He loves being a helping hand. Apparently he was a detective. Can somebody please explain this? I need more. I need more on that. And he's very, very excited about facing someone who's undefeated. And that undefeated prospect's name is Luke Riley. Luke Riley, doesn't he kind of look like Emil Hirsch? Tell me if you agree. He does. And he has 2000s movie star energy in general, but I finally figured it out. I was like, Emil Hirsch. So let me know. He's from Liverpool, so he's chilling with the old Paddy Addy Addy, and he had an absolute just dominant run in Cage Warriors. We're talking 11-0, and this is his UFC debut. This is debut. So he is coming off of a round 2 knockout, and that was very, very cool. So Luke Riley, he's definitely a striker. He's 100% preferred there, and he survived the grappling from his opponent, who has a very grappling heavy strategy, and he played very, very patient, and he did a really good job not only getting up to his feet very quickly but while he was on the ground, limiting the damage that he was taking. So 73% of his wins are from knockout, and it's usually quite early. So 4 of those knockouts took place in round 1. So he's got a great combo of he can get you out early, but when you watch his fights, you can see he does have a pretty measured approach. Nothing in Sublandia, though. Nothing in the subworld. And he's on a 15-fight win streak, so he has been riding it this way for a little bit now. Calm and collective. He kind of wants you to come to him. And, yeah, like mentioned, Emil Hirsch. And he says that he's really ready for the big stage and that he likes the pressure. He's under the whole, pressure builds diamonds mentality, and he does seem pretty cool, pretty calm, and ready. This is a perfect featured prelim. Both of these guys are just young, hungry, scrappy, ready. I mean, Luke Riley's making his debut. Bogdan, he is only had 2 UFC fights, so they're in a very similar position. I think that in and of itself makes it very compelling, but also these guys, very strong, very athletic, bit of a different style. I'm expecting Bogdan to try to close the distance, but that's what Luke Riley likes, honestly. He does pretty good, waiting for his opponents to come to him, a bit of a counter striker in that sense, very measured. I just expect this one to be so much fun, and these guys are potentially the future of their division in that sense, and should be a good one. And I think that Luke Riley may be my most anticipated debut of the night. Pretty exciting to see, and he just seems to have a really good head on his shoulders and pretty ready for this moment. And Bogdan Grad, also really good head on his shoulders, just so humble. It seems like he got a good attitude and really puts it on in the cage. This one should be pretty awesome, and we're going to learn a lot in this fight, I think. We have made it to our main card. First up, we got a flyweight matchup between Tagir Ulanbekov and Kyoji Horiguchi. Tagir Ulanbekov moved to Dagestan when he was 8 years old and quickly became a part of the Eagles MMA crew, doing the old classic Sambo pipeline, what have you. And he's been in the UFC since 2020, currently coming off of a decision win. He is on a 4-fight win streak, so has just 1 scratch in the UFC and has still never been finished. So proved to be very, very durable, and he manifests his wins via decision and submission with a 47% split between those two and just a little bit left for the rest, right? Just 1 knockout win. So not really a knockout guy, more of a put the pressure on. He's looking to hurt you and jump on the sub. So even though he hasn't gotten more than 1 knockout win yet, he does cause a lot of damage, and he definitely has dropped several of his opponents, and that is where the submission ultimately will manifest itself, is from their pain. on the ground because they're stumbled, they're confused, and he gets them. And the other way that he's really effective against his opponents is that he uses his length, his jab. He's very jabby, and he's willing to stand very, very close, like toe to toe. So he simultaneously is very close, but also using his length with that jab. He's tall, and you feel it. And oh, the body triangle with this one is tight and nasty. He uses those long legs to hook you up. And he'll be going against Kyoji Horiguchi, who is making his second UFC appearance. Not like second fight, but his second go at a UFC run. So he started karate when he was a young kid, and he made his way to competing professionally in MMA by the time he was 16 years old. And he started off in Bellator, was the champion there, became the champion of Risen, and between this time, he had a little UFC stint, okay, and this is part 2. He's coming off of a Risen title defense. Heck yeah. So he's not much of a subling. Subs are pretty rare. Most of his wins are coming from knockout and decision. So lots of knockout wins, 15 out of the 34, and then 14 of decisions. So just very, very sub rare. He's got a super, super wide stance, and he's very, very powerful in the dart in. So he's looking to dart in and mess you up. And he's on a 5-fight win streak. So he is getting welcomed back to the UFC. This is a pretty fun flyweight scrap. It's cool to see Kyoji back after having such incredible success outside of the UFC. I mean, he completely dominated in Risen, 14-1. That's actually crazy. And what's interesting about these fellas here is that what they have in common is they do get a lot of decision wins, a lot of grind out wins. But then the reverse situation is Kyoji is definitely on the striking side. He is a striker, and Tajir has got a bit of a sub plan in his back pocket. You know what I'm saying? So that should be fun. It's the flyweights, so they usually give us a very energetic scrap, and it is exciting to see Kyoji back and just to see how things have been. It's been a long time since he's been in the UFC. It's like over 10 years. Next up, we have Sergey Spivak versus Shamil Gaziev. This is a heavyweight bout, of course. Sergey Spivak, he is the polar bear. Such a fun, cute nickname, makes a lot of sense. He's been in the UFC since 2019 and has exclusively faced stiff competition. It is, the heavyweight division's kind of crazy like that. And yeah, he has fought some greats for sure. And he's coming off a decision loss right now to Waldo Cortez Acosta. And that was a pretty fun fight. Sergey is not one to get submitted. It's never happened before, and he is often submitting himself. So almost half of his wins are coming via submission, and he is hunting you down in the meantime. So not a decision kind of guy. He is looking to turn it on in a really big way. So he's pretty much, subbing you, knocking you out, very little in between that. The takedown is incoming. And he really can slam the big boys. There's pretty much no one he can't pick up and slam. So he'll be hunting your head, and he'll be trying to slam you on the ground. It's pretty much the two things. Yeah. And he's only been to a round 3 / a decision 2 times in his fight career. Pretty crazy stuff. And while Sergey can play a pretty, not overly patient, but a patient game from the outside, when things do get close, he is ready to let those hands go, which makes him always an exciting fighter to watch and has kept him high up in the rankings. And he's going against Shamil Gaziev. Shamil Gaziev is the first fighter in the UFC to represent Bahrain. That's pretty cool. He's been here since 2023, still making his way, and is coming off a pretty strong TKO win over Thomas Peterson. That was a shutdown for sure, and his only loss is a TKO. Shout out to Rosenstruck. Shout out to the old Rosenstruck. He's known for being very technical, uppercut on the sneak, but at the same time, the hands, they drop, really low. So it's interesting. He is a very technical striker, but he's not exactly protecting himself out there. Not too many kickies happening for Shamil. He is more of a puncher, so he's keeping it up. He's keeping it up top and keeping those hands low. Okay, they are low, but we're loving it. We're loving it. We're loving the bravery, the bravado, the gusto, whatever you want to call it. And the thing is among his 3 submission wins, all of them are rear naked choke. Okay, so he's got a thing for choking. He's got a thing for the RNC. So he's not exactly a submissions mastermind, but he's got his thing. Okay, he's got his thing. So decisions are really rare. Like his opponent, he has only been to a decision / round 3. Those are included. Twice. So we have 2 guys, 2 really powerful heavyweights that are ready to get it going and who are going to be headhunting like crazy, who have only been to a round 3 / decision. That's a catch. That's a batch together. Twice, each of them. that is pretty fun and significant. So this is one should be pretty crazy. I'm expecting them to go out there and put it on the line. I think we are going to get a lot of pressure in this fight. Should be pretty fun. I know that Sergey's going to be looking to take Shamil down. Looking to take him downtown. Yeah, because that's definitely, I'd say, his advantage there, but pretty big opportunity for Shamil for sure to claw up the rankings a little bit, and this should be a fun high-level heavyweight fight. Next up, the welterweight wildcard continues with Jack Hermansson and Miktibek Orobai. Jack, the Joker Hermansson, has been in the UFC for a while after creating a very illustrious pathway with multiple championships throughout the middleweight world primarily, but here we are at welterweight, and here we are since 2016, right? Except he was mostly out for 2023 and 2024, which is mildly concerning, but what's more concerning is the knockout of which he is coming off of just a couple months ago, okay? It was a patient round one until RoboCop got the left hook, and then Jack, he was outie 9,000. Like, he was so out. He was out cold, and Herb Dean didn't tackle RoboCop fast enough, and he landed a double. Like, Jack's body is completely KO. Like, he is out. And another one on, oh man. So it took a while to wake up. It was definitely an unnecessary hammer fist. So that's unfortunate. Not exactly RoboCop's fault, right? I mean, maybe. It was tough. It was a really tough watch. Tough stuff, so really hoping that he's fully recovered from that, because it's pretty devastating. It's devastating to have a knockout in general, but then, like, the hammer fist of it all. Okay, the thing about Jack is he can do it all. He's very MMA, so he does have 10 wins by knockout, so a lot of knockout wins, but he's always threatening that level change. He loves being on the ground. He's a happy little camper on the ground, really likes it, and he's kind of looking to just take the fight wherever it goes. He's got a very high guard, especially lately has had a kind of a defensive, slow burn to his fights. And, he grinded Pfeiffer out in a 5-rounder, which is pretty impressive stuff. Joe Pfeiffer was looking like the faster, more powerful striker as the fight started out. But he was able to make his adjustments and get the win out of that fight and grind it out to a decision. Yeah, he's an animal lover, and he's got 6 siblings as well. And he's going against Miktibek Orobai, who is such an entertaining fighter to watch. He is also one of my favorite fighters. He's been in the UFC for just a short time now, and I already love him since 2023. And right now he's coming off of a pretty saucy Kimura win. Like, that was crazy round 1. Oh, man, and he was proud of himself, as he should be. He's never been finished because he's tough. Yeah, he's never been finished because he's tough as heck. And he can do it all, okay? Similar to his opponent, he's got a great fight IQ, splits his targets very, very well. He's also ready to be a short notice gamer, so you can count on Miktibek to come through when you need him. Obviously, the Rubeski split fight of the night loss is incredible. Like, that's one of my favorite fights ever. Like, it's a classic. Like, we're going to bring it up until we can't bring it up anymore. Like, please, watch that fight if you have access to it. It's amazing. Just proof that Miktibek is ready for blood and for war. And before that loss, he was on an 8-fight win streak. So, incredible ability to rally. He's so technical. He's a very, very technical fighter all around. Definitely will put himself on the line about it, but he has the MMA mindset. He will take the fight all different places wherever appropriate. And he loves nature. He's a horseman. Yeah, we got a lot of horse guys on this card, of course. He spent his youth running through the mountains, apparently. He's also a lawyer, so don't mess with him. And he knows his fashion, which is an expression of his beautiful mind, if you ask me. This should be a really fun fight because both guys have a pretty defined MMA arsenal specifically. They mix it up really well. They make really good adjustments. So it's one of those fights that I feel like if it goes to a decision, which I do feel like is likely, both have been pretty durable. I mean, unfortunate, the last performance from Jack. But yes, both fellas are durable, technical, and if we do go to decision, that round 3 will look a lot different from round 1 because adjustments will have been made on both sides. And that's what I'm really excited for with this one, is I feel like we are going to get a really, really interesting fight. Both guys pretty cool, pretty smart, pretty fun, and both really well-rounded, yet very different. And then we have a light heavyweight matchup between Volkan Ozdemir and Alonzo Menningfield for a spot in the top 15. Volkan, no time, is coming off of his loss to Carlos Ulberg, which was a year ago, and it pretty much stayed entirely on the feet in that fight, and he was countered while he was trying to get his way in there. It's kind of the story of the fight. Like, he was trying to close that distance because he likes to do that. Olberg wasn't having it. Like, he was countering him, and then he blocked all, I think, at least, if not every single one, like the majority of the takedowns that Volkan was shooting. So he just couldn't get it. He couldn't get it going. You know what I mean? He couldn't get it going. But he's back in action after what feels like a pretty long layoff, and he is a knockout kind of guy. 65% of his wins, trying to close that distance so he can get the touch up on you. But he likes to mix it up, and 50% of his losses are via decision. So if you can keep him from getting his way in there, that would serve to your favor. He really likes to control the space, so he's definitely not a counter striker, I would say. He's somebody who's looking to get the first shot because he's often marching forward in his fights, really pushing the pressure. He likes to lead with that left hook, which can be a little dangerous, and he's always peppering in those low kicks. You gotta slow down his opponent a little bit, add some strikes to the counter, and he has that never back down attitude. You know what I mean? Always pressing forward, pretty hard to deter. And he'll be going against Alonzo Meningfield, who has a bit of a different strategy. Right now, coming off of a decision win against Omar Sy. A bit of a slowy. He's the knockout guy 50% of the time, and those are also the majority of his losses. Not exactly sub-lane. He's not a subaroo. He's a short notice guy. He'll come in if you need him, whenever you need him. Keeps the guard pretty high as he goes in, but definitely prefers to counter strike, which kind of is what made the pace of the last fight feel maybe just like a little slow about it. He's been through a lot of things in life, and he has a criminal justice degree. This should prove to be a pretty fun fight because I think Volkan is definitely going to work to get in Alonzo's face. Alonzo is going to be looking to counter strike, but we'll see how successful he is at maintaining the distance. I think that's what he'll be trying to do. I think Volkan is going to try to piece him up a bit, get a couple takedowns on him. Pretty excited to see Volkan after it's been almost a year. Kind of curious, right? Because he must have been some sort of injury or something like that. So hoping that he is well and good. And this should be, hopefully, a bit of a change of pace from Alonzo's last fights, because he's not going against another counter striker. He's going against somebody who was going to want to keep walking forward the whole time. At least I suspect. That's what he usually does. We made it to our co-main event. We got more welterweight wildcards, of course. The finale of the welterweight wildcard, Belal Muhammad and Ian Machado Gary. This is a spot for the number one contender position. Belal, he is Chicago's own. He's remembered the name. He is the everyman. He is most welterweight wins in UFC history. Yeah, he is been here since 2016 and has done incredible. We are currently coming off of maybe not our favorite Belal performance against JDM. JDM, he outstruck him. He did the thing. And he outstruck him. And previously, Belal was on a 10-fight win streak. So we're looking to get back to that, right? Not much of a sub-lean. Not really looking to manifest the sub. He's more of on that decision grind, making active adjustments. He's Suffocation 101. He's Fight IQ. In his own words, you never know what he's going to do. And yeah, for sure, that's the energy that he brings. You never know what he's going to do. We don't know. He's very chatty, sassy, and crafty, so he definitely backs it up. Backs it up for sure, but it's got that chip on his shoulder 100%. He has never been given the easy road, okay? So, chip acquired. Chip acquired because it's not been an easy path. It's not been an easy path, and here he is. Belal and I both agree that Michael Morales is probably right now in first place for who's going to challenge for the belt next, considering Shavkat is still injured. That's sad. Wish him well. Hope he's well. But Belal. Okay, he's going to do whatever it takes. He's going to mix it in. He's going to do it all. He's going to be sassy and crafty. And he is going against Ian Machado Gary. So they have one thing in common. They have a few things in common. I guess they both have the same thoughts about Kamaru Usman and his knees. Anywho, so the future Ian Gary, happy belated birthday, by the way. It's only a couple of days removed from that. He's 28 years old. The future, it's pretty cool. Congratulations to him. Fighting has always been his dream. He started boxing when he was 10 years old. Made his judo black belt by the time he was 18. And, he's a former Cage Warriors champion, undefeated over there. Right now he's coming off of his decision win over Carlos Prates, who obviously had a really big statement quite recently, right? yeah, and Ian Machado Gary was able to really drag him to an uncomfortable position. Yeah, and made it happen. And it's the decision loss to Shavkat that's his only scratch. So he's very much so a striker, and he's very evasive. Takedown defense, evasive. He gets hate for being cringe, but that's why we love him. Okay, he's a global citizen, and we appreciate that about him. That he's always looking to evolve. And the other thing we appreciate about him is that he's willing to be thrown to the wolves. And Bilal Muhammad would be a pretty barky wolf. This is a really, really fun co-main event. I'm really excited about this one. The welterweight division is just so fun and exciting and so many moving parts right now. Just so much that's going on. And I think that Bilal and Ian are both so smart. They both have an incredible fight IQ. I feel like fight IQ is one of their defining qualities. They can do so many things in the cage, and they really are seeing things that regular people just don't see. And I'm really excited for that aspect of this fight. I think it's going to be a nasty, gritty, yucky grind. I'm hoping for a yucky, gritty decision out of it. Yeah, I know that yeah, they have a lot of things in common. It's crazy. Fight IQ, and they're both very chatty, very sassy. Yes, and they definitely I know that they wouldn't necessarily say the same thing about each other, but I think that they really back it up. They back it up. And they're not too rude. Okay, well Bilal is definitely really rude. He's really rude, which can be a little I feel like he can make anybody cry. He honestly could. Yeah, he is. He's very rude, very sassy, but we love him. We love him. And these are the two welterweights that are trying to steal back that spotlight, and I think that they can. I think that they can. I don't know what it would take. Um, I guess if Ian Gary somehow knocked out Bilal, that would be just as crazy as um, Carlos Prates' performance and just as crazy as Michael Morales, 100%. But would maybe be even crazier would be a nasty, dominant, gritty decision. I'm trying to think what would be crazy for Bilal. I guess knocking out Ian Gary would be pretty crazy, especially because it would be the reverse narrative, right? Because we have all these young guys, these two young guys, well, newer to the, well, they are young. Okay, whatever. Carlos and Michael essentially taking out the old guard, and if Ian beats Bilal, it would be a continuation of that narrative. Whereas if Bilal could flip the script, maybe it would be even more of a case. And yeah, what they don't want is Kamaru Usman to be in front of them in the line. That's what they both agree on. That's what they agree on. I think this will be a really exciting fight. This is definitely one of the fights I'm most looking forward to because, again, fight IQ. I think that these guys just so crazy, crazy smart. It may be a little crazy, regular crazy, but in the best way possible with love and light, with love and light. I think we are just going to get a really cool and fun MMA display. And like Bilal is always saying, you never know what he's going to do. We don't know what he's going to do. But Ian says that he would be a fool to strike with him. I don't know what he's going to do, but it's going to be fun either way. It's a really, really exciting co-main event. Also, for a number one contender spot is our main event, Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. And before we get to it, I just want to say, what is this? What is this? What is that? What do we... I mean, I like it. With love and light. But he is an oddball. Arman Tsarukyan, do-do-do-do-do, and Arman Tsarukyan, do-do-do-do. Again, I don't know why. I don't know why. Okay, so Arman Tsarukyan, right? He's coming off of the Charles Oliveira split win, but that was back in 2024. I almost said 2014. Nope. That was 2024. If it was 2014, Arman Tsarukyan would have been a teenager. All good. Okay. But, of course, as we know, he was supposed to be fighting Islam Makhachev for the lightweight belt. Ultimately gave that spot up to Manny Moicano, who was finished quite quickly because he had a back injury and it was only a couple of days ahead, so it was pretty unfortunate. It was a really, massively hyped main event. It really was. Arman Tsarukyan having faced Islam before, that was who he made his debut against, and how both of them have grown a lot since, but that was a fight of the night performance. There was just so much, so it was a pretty big deal that he pulled out, and we're hoping that he's well and good. Coming here now for his first fight of 2025. Pretty crazy stuff. So he's on a 4-fight win streak, but a bit of a layoff, right? His wins are pretty evenly split, with submissions being the least likely, and 2/3 of his losses are via decision. So, has proved pretty durable. He has been grappling it up in the meantime, which, maybe is slightly concerning, but maybe not. Good sign. So he's had a couple of grappling matches in his downtime. And as mentioned, he made his debut against Islam Makhachev. That's pretty crazy. He made his debut against Maki back in 2019. Crazy stuff. So in his UFC career of just 9-2, he has had 5 performance of the night bonuses, which is a testament to Arman's willingness to put it all out on the line. So he has that wrestling approach, but he also is just very, very aggressive. We're loving it. Hamzat is in his corner, so that's going to be pretty cool stuff. And he says that he's been training better, better, smarter, yeah. And he is a rich boy, so he loves his sports cars, his designer watches, and all the such like. And he will be going against our not safe for TV, Dan the Hangman Hooker. We love the Hangman. He has been in the UFC for a bit now. He's coming off of his split decision win against Matu Scamro, and that was important. It was important to get that one done, but similar to his opponent, it was over a year ago. And similar to his opponent, he's also coming off of a pretty major injury. So Dan Hooker broke his hand real nasty like. He broke that hand real nasty, and so hopefully it's all good. And so like his opponent, this is his first fight of 2025. What? But he's on a 3-fight win streak. He wins all the ways, very similar to Arman Tsarukyan, as has continued to develop his competition, or his arsenal, against his competition, of which has been great. Yes, so he's faced a lot of really great competition. Never forget the Felder Splitty of 2020. We love Paul Felder. Paul Felder's the best. He's so great. And yeah, Dan Hooker's definitely a striker. Definitely a striker for sure, but has evolved to have, I feel like, a very complete, full MMA arsenal. And we've watched him throughout these years, slowly but surely get as tatted up as you can get. And it's cool to see him go down that journey. He also hosts 1-minute scraps, which I gotta admit are pretty terrifying. They're pretty terrifying. So they're like backyard brawls where essentially you have 1 minute to fight and that's it. So everybody is like immediately like, gas on, and there's not a lot of technical skills. So it's a lot of knockouts from fists from coming way behind downtown. What? I gotta admit, it's a little bit of a hard watch for me. A little bit of a hard watch, but if you're into that, he does that. That's one of his things. Yeah. So you know that he's a kicker. And it's up, and it's up, and it's up. So a lot of high kicks, a lot of kicks in general, leggy, leggy, leggy. And he's got a type of action that delivers. Deliverism, as one might say. That's not a real word, and that M is definitely a typo. But yeah, his action delivers. So he's definitely known as somebody who was fighting to put on a good show. Not exactly someone who's fighting to win the points game, but he says he's got his eyes on the belt, so maybe he's changing his mind about that a little bit. And you know what he also says? That he hates a lot of people. No, you don't. I don't believe him for a second. He's trying to talk trash, because he said he hates Arman Tsarukyan, and he was, being a little sassy to him and what have you. But it's like he just likes to start beef for fun. I don't think it's real. This will be a really great fight. Also a number 1 contender type fight. Like whoever wins this should be in line to fight for the belt next. And this one should be really exciting. Dan Hooker, he is a really exciting fighter. Arman Tsarukyan, same thing. So many performance bonuses. I'm expecting a really crazy pace. I have no idea. Are we gonna make it all the rounds? It's no secret that Dan Hooker is plotting a little knockout. That would be pretty crazy. Quite a statement if he does. I'm really interested to see if Dan Hooker is truly going to rein it in a little bit, because he was saying he wants to play like a little smarter, essentially, because he's kind of a go for broke type guy, and he's just known for putting on a great show. I think he's going to be putting on a really great show. We got the crowd. Should be really fun, and it's so anticipated to see both of these gentlemen back, and interesting for them to be facing each other. Makes a lot of sense. I think this fight definitely adds up. So this fight makes a lot of sense, and it should be a lot of fun, a great scrappy way to end of the night. I'm not sure what's really gonna happen, honestly. I feel like I have a hard time thinking about how this one is gonna go. I feel like it could kind of go anywhere. It's kind of how I'm feeling about both the co-main and the main event, is that they have a lot of roads of which they can travel, and I'm just so excited for it. And I gotta be honest, I'm so excited that for where I'm at, it's going to be in the AM. Let's go, because it was so late last weekend. It's all good. We made it. Made it through. That's everything. Oh my gosh, what fight are you most excited about? What do you think? which matchup is going to be your favorite? Do you anticipate? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts about all of the fights. Let me know, especially, I feel like, thoughts about the welterweight wildcard situation. Like, what sort of win would Bilal have to pull to get his chance to have the next fight be for the belt? And same thing for Ian. Do you feel like they both just got to get a big finish, or what have you? Would it be crazier for one of them to get the finish or one not? Whatever. Just tell me your thoughts on the welterweight wild card, because that one's got my head spinning. And tell me your thoughts about anything at all. Here is our song of the week. I know we're posting this one pretty late in the week, but it's, we can still jam out to it for a couple more days before we get to our song of the night. And I think that's just about everything that I have. So excited for the first ever event in Qatar. Let's go, right? Making history here and there. Pretty cool. Arman Tsarukyan, do. Peace out.